Can you guys believe that we are looking at this and it's done? We did it. No project is ever done, but to this point, it's amazing to me. We bought this car 6 months ago. Tons of parts just missing. Obviously, it was a stock body 135, and now it is officially a 1M clone. It's just so incredible. So I just got the car back yesterday from the body shop. Super happy with all of the work that they did. I'm gonna have them linked down below. WRG Paint and Body. They are local here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Dude, they killed it. They did a really, really good job. And not only did they do a good job, but they knocked it out in a week, which is just mind-blowing. I thought I was gonna wait at least 3 weeks to a month for this thing. They got everything done in a week. So I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about all the things that I've had to do to get it to this point, what has changed, what we're looking at right now, and what I'm gonna do in the future. Here it is, you guys. This is my 1M clone, officially a 1M clone, dude, and it just looks so good. And I'll be honest with you guys, video pictures do not do this thing justice. It is so wide in person. Like, I park it in the garage next to my E92 M3 and it just looks way wider than the E92. I think that's mostly because it's just so short and like stout compared to the E92 M3. But dude, I am in love with this thing. It is so freaking sick, and I have so many hours into this car. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of where it was and how far it's come, and especially in 6 months, like we've just accomplished so much with this car. So we'll start with the entire body. These are all official BMW OEM 1M parts. So the front bumper is 1M, the fenders are 1M, the side skirts are 1M. The rear arches are not, those are aftermarket. They're fiberglass, basically replica rear 1M arches. Me and my friend Chris did all of the body work up into the point where they did sanding and then paint. They look freaking amazing. You would never be able to tell that these are not OEM, and they're extremely strong. So the way that we bonded everything, if you guys haven't watched that video, I make sure you check it out, because we made sure that no matter what, these would never crack and never fail. Unless you got into like an accident or something catastrophic like that. As long as I'm smart and leaving clearance for the tires and everything, we're gonna be completely fine with this setup. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Rear bumper is 1M, rear diffuser is 1M. Now, I didn't do anything with the trunk yet. Basically, everything that the body shop did is they painted the entire car minus the trunk and minus the roof. I do have plans of doing a carbon fiber trunk and a carbon fiber roof, and that's sort of why I made the decision to not paint those. They're also not really in bad condition, so it wasn't really necessary to go ahead and do that. You guys can really get an idea of how how wide this thing is in person. It just looks incredible, and this was my vision all along. I made a render, I don't know, just a few weeks in of owning this car when it was stock body, and it literally had these wheels. It was the 1M full body, and it looks identical to what I have today. So I'm really, really happy with the way that turned out. The hood is a full Sabon carbon fiber hood. You can see that I have my hood pins in here, and then I basically just had them leave this part exposed. So it looks like I actually just have carbon fiber vents right here, but the whole thing is actually carbon fiber, and I think that that's just such a cool and like clean addition to this car that not everyone will know about, unless of course you like watch the videos and follow the content. We have the American Panda badges, which are blacked out, look really good. I ended up doing the OEM LCI headlights, which I think look really, really nice. However, I will be putting on new lenses and changing out the bulbs so they're just a little bit whiter. Right now they're super, super yellow. You can also tell that this one is just a shade darker, like on the eyebrow there. This one is just not in as good condition as this one, so I bought these both used. So this one is going to get a bit of a refurbish to it, so it looks pretty much brand new compared to that one. That will be in the future. I have a nice big old CSF front mount intercooler from Keys Motorsports, and then of course my OEM BMW M Performance front grille. One thing about this car right now, it is extremely low. I don't know how long I'll actually be riding around with it this low. It's not that it sits low from tire to fender, it actually looks like perfect, but the intercooler is just so big and it hangs so low that I'm a little bit concerned about it hitting things. Like, it kind of scrapes a little bit when I go over speed bumps and whatnot, which I just don't want to deal with in the future. It sucks because like the stance and the fitment is literally perfect. Like, the car looks so good at this height, but I will probably bring up the front just like a little bit, maybe a quarter of an inch. The side markers, all of this, all OEM 1M, and these are functional. I did make them functional, and basically the way that I did that is I just flipped the wires. All of the fender liners are in as well. well. They use E92 and E90 M3 fender liners. For the rear, you have to do a lot of cutting to make the fender liner fit this setup. It's not really too difficult. You just have to like put it in there, measure, draw, cut, repeat the process until you're happy with it. One thing about these flares is they do have quite a bit of lip on the inside to them, and that's something that I'm going to shave back. You guys obviously can't see it, but behind here there's fiberglass, and it sort of is like a little shelf that goes in. It doesn't really have anything to do with like the structural rigidity of the fiberglass, but I do want to bring this back in a little bit so I can have more clearance for my tire. I'm really glad that I ended up going with just a normal like Toyo Proxy tire setup in the beginning, because it allows me to figure out exactly what type of tires and what size I want for the future. So I am doing R888Rs on these wheels with this setup, and I will be changing the sizes a little bit. I like the front how it sits, however the back, I might bring down the profile a little bit in the rear and actually go a little bit wider with the tires. So we'll see what I end up doing there. The car does have a little bit of rake to it. As you can see, it's a little bit lower in the front, so I'm gonna bring that front up just a touch to kind of even it out. Until I shave out the rear over here, I wanna be really careful about not going too low in the rear, because I don't want that rear tire to hit the flare and, you know, just create issues. But everything right now is good. There's no rubbing. In order to get these wheels to sit the way they are right now, I'm actually running a 10mm spacer in the rear and a 15mm spacer in the front. Now, we have to remember that with this car, I do have the 135 hub assembly, but with the 1M fenders, it obviously makes it much wider. So you are gonna have to run a spacer setup if you want everything to sort of be flush. I'm really happy with the way that it sits. It's not too aggressive. It's not too slammed. I think it's functional. I think it looks really good. I just think overall, it's just a really, really clean setup. A lot of people are gonna be like, oh, it just looks like a stock 135 or a stock 1M. Honestly, that was kind of like what I was going for. I wanted a very, very OEM, clean looking car, and I just wanted simple. That's all I wanted. And I think I nailed it. To be honest, I think it's freaking perfect. It's like just the subtle parts that are aftermarket go along so well on this car, like the hood, you know, like that's one thing that most people probably wouldn't even notice because it's painted and everything, but then you see the bulge and you're like, wait, that's not factory. So it's just little stuff like that. And then obviously like the wheels, the 513M wheels just look so freaking good on this car. So if we head into the interior, you guys have seen pretty much everything on the interior in this car. I did do the 1M door sills, brand new from BMW. We have the AZA Auto Wheel steering wheel. We have the ZHP shift knob with the genuine Alcantara shift boot. I did do some custom Alcantara underneath that. I actually did that myself. And then Colorado N5X actually did all of the piping on here, as well as the dash trim piece up there. So that all looks really good. We are running the rear seat delete, which I also think looks really, really clean. It's just like a net setup. It's nothing too crazy. It's very, very simple, which again, I really like. One thing that will be changing is I will be doing the 1M mirrors as well. So I think that that will be a really good addition. It just looks kind of funky having the 135 mirrors on this car right now. The 1M mirrors look a lot better. They sort of look similar to how the E92 M3 mirrors look. They have like the winged version and they're a little bit smaller. I think they're gonna suit this build really, really well. Overall, man, it's just wild seeing this thing in person after all of the time and all of the work that I've put into it. Literally spent hundreds and hundreds of hours working on this car to get it to this point. And the crazy thing is we're nowhere near finished. This is just like the next benchmark for me with this build, and getting the body done was just such a huge part of that. Yeah, it's pretty surreal seeing it done, and I'm really, really happy with it. I think with this car in particular, I just have so much skin in the game on this car that it really just makes me much more proud of this build because of the amount of time I've spent working on it, and like the vision that I had for it just seemed so, it seemed so far out of reach when I first started, and to see it now is just, it's incredible. Like, this is the feeling that us car guys strive for every time we start building on a car, is to see it at that one point where we had this vision in the beginning and then we finally see it come to fruition. It's just, it's the best feeling in the world. Knowing that you worked your ass off on this car, it is the most fulfilling feeling ever, seeing it finally where you envisioned it from the beginning. And it's not often that you get to fulfill that or actually see it happen, but to say that I'm happy with this would just be a massive understatement. I just never thought that we would get it to this point this fast. So 6 months ago, bought it, and here we are now. So I do have a complete carbon fiber package for this car. I have the rear diffuser, I have the side skirt extensions, and then I have a front like splitter lip setup. The splitter I'm probably not going to run just because I don't really like the way that it sits. I'll probably buy a different front lip, and then I will do the side skirt extensions. I think that they look really, really good. It's kind of hard for me to like throw everything on right now because it's just so fresh and clean and like virgin. It doesn't have any holes in any of the panels. I really just don't want to smoke holes into this thing yet because it's just so clean and perfect right now. And who knows, maybe I won't put any of the carbon fiber on. It is a really, really good example of like a clean OEM looking 1M clone. And I think that this is just, it's beautiful. That's the only way that I can describe it from one car guy to another. It's just a beautiful, beautiful build so far. If I don't do the carbon fiber trunk, I will have the rear trunk resprayed. Not that it like really needs it, but I don't know. I feel like it would probably be in a better position if I did. But the roof situation, I definitely want to do the carbon fiber roof. I think that that would just take this build to the next level. And when I do the roof, I'll do all of the headliner and everything in black as well. We'll be deleting the sunroof, obviously, if we go carbon fiber. This is going to be my build car. Like, I want this thing to be just an insane build when I'm done with it. The farthest I've ever gone, the most proud I've ever been, and it's already shaping up to be that, but I know in my head that I can make this like a one-of-a-kind incredible build, and that's really what I aim to do. The other cool thing is I have a couple other sets of wheels coming for the E92 M3 and I suppose this 1M clone. The great thing is, you know, these cars share the same fitment closely. They do. Obviously it's not the same hubs as the 1M, so it's a little bit different, but I can run anything that I put on the E92 M3, I can run it on this car too. So it'll be nice to be able to flip back and forth through some of the wheels and just have a little bit of fun there. I can show you guys where we're at right now with the engine and everything. Things are just sort of where I left them off. Like last I did the intake manifold and the coil pack. Crazy, dude. This thing looks it looks so nuts. So we have the Doc Race intake manifold. Obviously I'm running the Mosselman twins, and then of course it's got full bolt-ons. It's got the Mosselman oil cooler. I am running the 1M aux radiator, so I actually have two radiators. I have one here and then one over there. It does have performance radiator. It does have the CSF front mount intercooler. We are currently tuned by CD919, but it is just a break-in map. It's just a base map. We haven't even really gone into the tuning yet, which we're going to get into next. I do have port injection. It is not hooked up yet. I do have reflex. It is not hooked up yet. So those are going to be the next few things that we focus on. I did get the Turner coolant relocation tank. This is originally for, I believe, the 335, but obviously you can make it work with the 135. I did do all of the 1M strut braces, strut bars, all that stuff. We do have a BMS oil catch can over there. I did make a custom bracket in order to relocate my power steering reservoir, which I think turned out really good. And then we have the Precision Racework coil packs, which I've had zero issues with. Some people complain about those, but I've had no problem. The car's been perfectly fine. We'll find out really once we get into actual tuning and logging and dynoing. Being that the car was just in the body shop, it's pretty filthy right now. It definitely needs a good wash. And then in a few weeks, we're actually going to take this over to Parrts Detailing. We're going to do a full cut and polish on the car. We're going to do a full PPF on the front end, and then we're going to do a full ceramic coating on the car. And at that point, we'll be able to just send it. Right now, it has completely fresh paint, so I'm being very, very careful about where I drive it, when I drive it, how I drive it. I'm just trying to preserve as much paint as possible before I actually get into Parrts Detailing to get everything protected. So lots of work left to do on this car, but I sort of just wanted to bring you guys up to speed as to where we are at now. As always, you guys, I have the sheet that is linked in the description. It goes to a Google Drive where I actually built out a sheet of every single thing I used to make this car what it is today. Links, prices, everything. So you can quote out your own build if you kind of want to make it like this, or if you want to use some of the parts or not all the parts. That's like a really good directory if you're interested in doing this sort of build. So make sure you guys check that out. My main point here is to just show you guys the car, show you where we're at. I'm really, really happy with it. I think that this car is just one of a kind build so far. You know, it's very unique and it's very special to me, obviously, because of the amount of work that I put into it. My main thing was when building this car, I wasn't trying to build a 1M. I was trying to build a fun project car that had the body of a 1M. I wouldn't want want to buy a 1M and then go absolutely crazy with engine mods and interior stuff and ripping out seats. I've tried that path before and it's not fun tiptoeing around VIN numbers and all that. I think it's much cooler to build them yourself, and then you really get to be proud of what the car becomes in the future. So after we go ahead and get a lot of the detailing done, a lot of the polishing, the cut polish, PPF, ceramic, and all of that at Parrts Detailing, this car is going to go over to CES Motorsport, where we are going to wrap up a lot of the port injection. We're going to be installing my second low pressure fuel pump, and then we're also going to be installing the reflex. At that point, Chris CD919 is going to finish up the tuning. We're going to get this thing on the dyno, and we're going to see what this car can make on the Mosselman twins with a little bit of ethanol. I think it's going to be a really, really cool little street build. It's going to be fast. We're going to have some fun with it. And then after that, we're going big single. I envision this car having a nice big Garrett right here, and that's what I want. So yeah, you guys, I just want to thank you as always for supporting me, supporting the channel, and watching these videos. We are 6 months in. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think so far. I think we've done really good work. I know that some people are going to be like, oh, it's not crazy, it's not a wild build. This definitely was never the approach with this. I've learned a lot in the past few years about building cars, and of course my taste has changed a little bit, but I know exactly the way that I want to build a car now. I know exactly what I envision with the car now, and a lot of it has to do with streetability. Nothing too crazy. I always stick to like simple and basic stuff, and if I can go OEM, you know, on exterior, I try to keep it as clean as possible. In my opinion, my favorite builds have always been the ones where you sort of have to do a double take, like, is that factory, is it aftermarket? It's a mix of having the OEM stuff and then some really tasteful aftermarket stuff. Speaking of OEM and aftermarket, we'll definitely do some Recaro Sportsters on the inside. I'd like to do the AMX ones that are in red that match my interior. Really take this build, you guys, to the next level. Anyways, guys, I'm not going to drag this on any longer. I want to thank you guys so much for watching the videos, all the support over the years, and especially on this build. A lot of you guys have been super interested in this build and following very closely, and I really appreciate that. And again, you guys, there are links in the description for all of the builds, any of the parts that you're interested in buying, as well as links to my merchandise if you want to help support the channel. I appreciate it greatly. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.